안녕하세요. 건축가 이덕종입니다.
건축가 현승훈입니다.
저희가 이곳 태국에 온 이유는 아주 특별한 그 로컬의 미래를 들여다보기 위해서 왔는데요. 현승훈 건축가님은 태국에 오신 적이 있으신가요?
저는 이번 태국 방문이 처음인데요. 이제 새로운 도시의 이제 다양한 특색을 경험할 생각을 하니 굉장히 설렙니다. 이덕종 건축가님은 어떠신가요?
저는 한 3년 전쯤에 태국에 올 기회가 있었는데요. 3년 전과는 너무 많이 환경이 바뀌어서 어떻게 환경이 변했을지, 그리고 우리가 만나게 될 건축가분들이 어떤 분들인지 상당히 기대가 됩니다.
자, 그럼 태국을 대표하는 두 건축가를 만나 그 여정을 함께 떠나보겠습니다.
네, 자, 준비되셨죠? 네, 출발하겠습니다.
출발하겠습니다.
저는 방콕의 통로라는 지역에 나와 있습니다. 이곳에 태국의 고유한 환경과 문화적 배경을 가지고 건축 작업을 하는 건축사분이 있다고 해서 찾아왔는데요. 지역 예술가로도 불리우는 독특한 건축가, 어떤 분인지 저와 함께 만나보도록 하겠습니다.
Hi, Eugene. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Long time no see.
Long time no see.
Yes.
Saw you in Jeju 5
Many years ago, before COVID, I
Right.
had a very good time in Jeju speaking to the locals.
Right.
I'm happy to see you in Thailand.
Could you show you around?
Sure. Well, actually, today I think it'd be interesting to show a project that most people haven't seen.
Right.
A lot of our work in architecture starts off with something outside of architecture.
Right.
So this is a collaboration between myself and a Thai-American writer. And so I fell in love with this book, which I found in America. It's written by a Thai-American writer,
Right.
and she actually won the Newbery Prize, which is the most important prize in America for young literature. And so she wrote about a fictitious city in Thailand, a fantasy city, that her dad told her about because she doesn't live in Thailand. So this was a story, was inspired by the stories of her father of Thailand.
Right.
And I thought it was wonderful. I love the characters, I love the setting. And I contacted her and invited her to do a collaboration. So what we did was we reimagined the settings of this book called A Wish in the Dark. So it's almost like a fantasy young adults novel of a Thai city, but they never mention it. And so I think it's interesting because she has a viewpoint of Western and Eastern of what Thailand is.
Right.
And my own research tries to discover new hidden elements of Bangkok. So it integrated my research of Bangkok bastards.
Right.
And this is actually a scene of the mud house or the tenements in the book that we reimagine. And I integrated elements from the book as well as elements from my research. So this is a collaboration between literature and architecture.
And that's unusual collaboration.
Yes, I like that. I think architecture should go outside
Right.
the limits of design. We want to talk to other people. We want our work to have an impact for people outside of design. I think it will create a greater impact for the world.
Right.
There is many regions in Thailand, and I didn't notice Thai is such a big country. And But could you explain the culture or environment only Bangkok has? Because in the beginning, you researched deeply about Bangkok.
I researched it. It's pretty random because I lived in Bangkok. I feel like there's value everywhere you are. I just happen to be in Bangkok. But luckily, Bangkok is kind of the epicenter of Thailand.
Right.
So Thailand is actually comprised of 4 regions. Northern Thailand, Northeast Thailand, Central Thailand, and Southern Thailand. All 4 regions are very different. But the great thing is Bangkok is a convergence of all these different cultures from the different parts of Thailand. So there's a good mix of culture. And I thought that combined with this rawness of Bangkok, Bangkok is a very unique city. I always say that if you describe Bangkok, it's hard to describe.
It's true, yes.
Right? People say people are kind, they love the people here, because it's almost indescribable in one thing.
Right.
So it's a many things combined and have very contrasting relationships, almost conflicting relationships.
So that's what you
Yes.
interest at that point.
A lot of my research is about capturing something that almost doesn't make sense. Funny stories or things that shouldn't happen, but they occur in a unique way. That's why I find it so charming. It's unexpected. But it also talks about real life, right? All the Bangkok bastards, that's the name I name my research. Bangkok bastards. Because the subjects, what a bastard is somebody who doesn't know their mother or their father. So if a bastard architecture or a bastard object doesn't have a designer, doesn't have a parent, but it's created by everyday people solving everyday problems in everyday life. And so many of the things I look at are created by lower income who are very limited with money. So they have to use whatever is around them, garbage, cheap things, and they put it together just to improvise, and it comes out with something very uniquely creative that can only happen on the spot. That's why I think it's so fresh.
Because when I heard the bastard in the first time, actually, that's before I knew the Thai culture. I'm really curious why Chepung use that word all the time. And then after I started to know the Thai culture, I kind of started to understand why you use the bastardize. That.
So the fact that you notice is important. I chose a word that people will go, ooh. Sometimes it offends them, but it's okay. I think architecture needs to be bigger. I chose a word that's not architecture. I didn't want to use the word hybrid or some intellectual word, but I want to use a word that reflects real things. So a bastard is a mix of different things.
When you pick up the word, it is really on purpose.
Very on purpose. And sometimes my host, who actually invited me to lecture, don't want me to use the word. But I say I should use it because it reflects real life.
I understood you actively utilize regional culture in Thailand as architecture environment. However, I understood you kind of avoid borrowing traditional Thai elements or native house style. And could you explain which elements of the Thailand you kind of most interested in?
I don't consciously try to avoid traditional things. Sometimes traditional things are interesting or have elements that people haven't seen before. But my reason for doing research is not because I'm an academic. I'm not a researcher. I don't call myself a researcher. I document. And the reason I document is to find content to make effective and live design. The word live is very important. So the subjects that I use has to be live. It has to be living right now. Because you can also go back to the history books and study historical temples, historical Thai vernacular house on stilts. But how useful is that for me to do that for a contemporary house in Bangkok on an active street? But if I start looking at street food or pop-up restaurants or illegal housing that's still dealing with the issues of today.
Right.
When I record them, I'm able to absorb and understand pertinent issues in Bangkok. It makes me live, it makes me present, which I think is important in architecture. Because I don't want to design a freezer, a frozen architecture in time, but I don't want to do trendy global things. So whenever I record current live bastards, I get my work infused with critical current issues, directly or indirectly.
Right.
But also, the subjects have to be interesting in design. I don't just choose subjects because they're interesting intellectually or socially or economically. They have to have a design innovation that's interesting because we're architects, we're not anthropologists, we're not social workers.
I mean, unconsciously, many architects actually choose those traditional elements or like international issues all the time. And I was a bit surprised when you mentioned that I didn't notice that aspect, kind of a live reference, because I unconsciously like try to see all the international issues or like traditional Korean things. And I started to rethinking when you mentioned that. And I think you got many hotel projects in here, and I think when you mentioned alive elements, maybe I think alive elements also connect with those hotel projects.
Yes, I like hotel projects because they have a finite deadline. That's a good thing about commercial projects as opposed to private residences. I love doing houses, but sometimes it can go on forever, a long time. But with a hotel, the great thing is it has a multicultural aspect that I like. A hotel is set in Bangkok, but it has to entertain or accommodate.
So could you show your hotel then?
Of course.
Yan Hotel is one of our most current work.
Right.
And that is situated in a very unique context. There's a lot of street food, delicious street food around there.
Right.
And it's actually a street food context that not many locals know about. But another thing that's interesting in Yan is it's an old town district. There are very many old elements.
Right.
For once, there's a historical canal with really interesting historical bastard canal architecture that we drew from. Also, there's a mixing of old and new. There are old Thai mansions that are hidden in that neighborhood that people don't know about.
Right.
And so I record these hidden mysterious mansions and how they've been bastardized by urban life, like street food. So there's this one mansion that is our research topic where it's almost 100 years old, but street food vendors have colonized it.
Right.
You may think that's bad, but it actually is a really good reciprocal relationship because the street food vendor protects the old mansion so thieves don't go in. And then they have a site so they can sell their food.
Right.
So unexpected things like that happen. And when the two types of contrasting architecture mix, colonial historical architecture and street food architecture mix, the result is a new bastard language that we use in Yan Hotel.
I'm really curious what kind of aspect you're collecting and mingled up in one site. So let's go to Yan Hotel then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was just telling you, these designs were derived from the burglar grills that we see on the street. And they're iconic elements, like these diamond shapes. But then you see how we tweak them? See that diamond shape? One side is concave instead of convex.
Right.
So we do little twists, right? Convex, 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 and then concave. And then it creates a new double shape, like bat wings.
Which is unusual.
Yeah, we always try to look to do one twist so that it creates kind of a new bastard.
Right.
Yeah, even in detail. So it's not just architectural diagram or massing, but level of detail. We always try to twist an existing something or combine it with something else. For example, we only not just use the curves, but then we use kind of like these other iconic herringbone pattern as well. And so it's a collage of different elements, of different things you see on the street. It's not just one perfect prototype, but it's many, many things.
And I saw even same pattern behind door, like you had engraving.
That's right, like these doors, the same engraving.
Right.
Yeah. So you see the handrail is also the detail of the screen as well. I think it's normal. You don't have to invent everything. Even if you look down, you see that window over there with the steel, bent steel, and with the flower shape, the brown flower shape, that's kind of derived from these as well. Like you see all these very historical patterns that is really good content to play with.
So you bring those kind of...
We draw them. We measure them and we draw all the patterns to scale. So that way we are accurate in terms of scale.
Right.
So that's why when we record, it's not just academic. We want the blueprint, the size, because it has a relationship to the human perception.
Sure.
Yeah.
As I know, your most recent project is Yan Lachawat Hotel, which we are currently interviewing now. And when you were first commissioned to design this hotel, what do you consider most important?
I always consider three things. The site and the context, right? And what the owner wants, and also my own agenda in trying to bring out kind of a local identity. And that's why I always start with researching local bastards, which I call the street vernacular, live vernacular. So that was the starting point.
And how has the surrounding environment changed the environment since the hotel was built?
Well, the first thing we do is we always walk without having an agenda in mind, because I think that's the way to look at things that are not predetermined and fresh. So we found that the Dusit neighborhood, this area, Ratchawat neighborhood, has a lot of old hidden mansions from old Thai families, and that have very interesting colonial language of architecture. So that became something that we tried to explore when we were designing this hotel, so that we can extract a hidden element of the local neighborhood. Another thing is this unique research involved looking at these bridges that are very funky. I call them front door bridges, that they cross from this new modern world of motorized streets to an older vernacular neighborhood. And these bridges actually become design elements that solve the problem of the original building that we had to redesign. So that's sometimes the research becomes content for new architectural hybrid language, and sometimes they become really unique ways to solve a problem that was thought of by locals.
So you bring all the neighbors' elements into the your hotel, and as kind of reflection of the neighbors.
And it's not just trying to be local for the sake of being local, but there's usually some really interesting way that they're solving problems that are related to local conditions. So I find it's a great source of creativity that solves a problem in an easy, efficient, cheap, and clever, sometimes humorous way. And by just looking at that, why wouldn't I use it I'd rather be looking at solutions of that than going on the internet and looking at trendy solutions by architects, which have no meaning in Bangkok. And it's really decimating architecture throughout the world because everybody looks at the same thing, the same websites, looking at the same global architects. So now all of our cities look the same.
And using the
Right.
same references.
Using the same references, trying to please the same audience, speaking the same language. Therefore, the world is becoming architecturally homogeneous.
And I know you have many hotel projects, and I also interested in Samsen Street Hotel. I think Samsen Street Hotel is good expression of what you are thinking.
Right.
And this project is kind of reflection of the culture of Thailand or reflection of the Bangkok atmosphere. I was curious.
Well, I think it's an important project for me because it was kind of a perfect storm where a lot of our major research was able to be utilized to create this new bastard. So we took inspiration from construction worker house scaffoldings to curtain sex motels to street food. So all these things, seemingly unrelated, combine into this project that's very hybrid. So I think that's really a summary of how we work, is that it's unexpected because it's taking inspiration from different places of the local neighborhood.
Could you briefly explain about Bangkok Bastard?
Sure. It's a research I started doing in 2012, but I actually started thinking and looking at bastards ever since I moved back to Thailand in 2000. I'm not a researcher. I don't claim to be an academic. I don't research for fun. But when I moved back, having graduated from school in the United States and coming back to Thailand, a tropical Southeast Asian country, I started to design buildings that were Western and modern and were terrible in terms that it didn't fit. It didn't fit in the tropical way of living. It didn't fit culturally. And I was at an impasse. I was actually kind of depressed for a while. And then I started to think, okay, how do I teach myself to design in a way that's locally authentic? And I looked at what my sources of information was. On the one hand, I have all this architectural history from the Western world, modern and contemporary, from Corbu to Frank Lloyd Wright to Rem to Herzog de Meuron to Sana. They were great, but they all were based mostly on modern Western principles that started from Bauhaus and Corbu, right? That's useful knowledge, but it wasn't going to help me in Thailand. I also looked to historical models in Thailand, temples and Thai vernacular houses on stilts. But those are historical, they're not live. I use the word live a lot. To extracting kind of local DNA from these bastards to create a very local, unique bastard architecture. And I've never had to look at global design internet websites ever since. I have all this great content that's just right outside my doorstep. And so that led to me researching and accumulating bastards. So we probably have over 100 bastards by now that we've collected into a BangkokBastard.com website, which was funded by the Ministry of Culture. So they saw value in what we were doing, and so they funded this website. People ask me, why don't I make a book? At this day and age, I don't need to make a book. I probably sell about 200 copies. But that's not the point. The point is I want this information to get out into the public. The younger generation don't buy books anymore. They go on the internet. They want information that's easy to access. So having an open source website makes it easy for them to get information, but also, like Wikipedia, we want people to discover and document their own bastards in Seoul or in Jeju or in Osaka and and put them in this website so that everybody can start to create a new live architectural history that's unique to every culture. We don't have to just look at Western modern architecture history. We have to start assembling our own unique local architectural history.
I want to question some about the Thai architect. And what issue do you think Thai architect needs to address for the future of the local architecture?
I think it comes back to us contributing to discover our own authentic DNA architecture. They don't have to do Bangkok Bastards research, but I think looking to things around us to find creativity within our context is the beginning. Because we've kind of maxed out on global architecture language, right? You see on the internet, you start surfing through it, you start swiping. It doesn't register anymore. You see a beautiful building, and the next 5 minutes there's a new beautiful building. So beauty isn't something that's lasting. You have to ask what's meaningful, and then it comes back to what's meaningful to you in terms of architecture.
As I know, you have visited Seoul and Jeju Island in the past. And when you experience Korea, how much do you think Koreans pay attention to the regionality? And was there any difference between Seoul and Jeju?
Oh, definitely. Definite difference in the pace, right? But architecturally, there are more unique local things that I saw, but also because I had a great tour guide, and I saw wonderful stone houses that was very strong to combat the winds. Again, Jeju bastard. Everyday people solving everyday problems in everyday life. It's like the locals have to withstand these 100-mile-hour winds. Right. So they created an architecture that was based on local material. It's kind of like a coral stone, yes, that was heavy but light, that breathes, and then a very shallow turtle shell roof. All of that is so pure and easy and bastardy in the best way. And I loved it. I didn't have a chance to go to Seoul and look around that much because I was always in events, but I know that if I got a chance to walk around, I'd find many wonderful Seoul bastards as well. So every city, to me, I go in with fresh new eyes. It's very important to go with fresh new eyes. And I always see things that people, locals say, oh, I didn't even notice that, because they see it every day, right?
What message would you like to leave for the many people who support live regional architecture?
I think they should continue to support looking at live vernacular architecture, because I think it's a key for any architect to do unique work, to do work that stand out, work that's authentic, and work that's meaningful. And right now, everybody's in a search to look for a spectacular building, right? Sometimes you get lost in that search, and maybe sometimes you have to look very close to you rather than far away to Japan or to, the Netherlands or to America. Sometimes it's just outside your door. And you know what's unique? Because nobody's ever seen it. Only you've seen it. Nobody in America's ever seen that feature on a street in Gangnam before, right? If that can lead to something authentic, you've already become a global superstar from something very local, because nobody's ever discovered that before other than you. So keep on looking at live, vernacular, street or rural creations.
I appreciate for your time and thank you for the conversation. Hope to see you next time in Jeju.
I'd love to go and visit. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
감사합니다.
and 감사합니다.
지금까지 채퐁 건축가와 함께 인터뷰를 하면서 채퐁이 어떤 건축을 하는지 얘기를 들어봤습니다. 다음으로 그 현승훈 건축가님이 어떤 건축가를 만나는지 궁금한데요. 현승훈 건축가님.
네, 저는 지금 문화와 역사 그리고 생태 친화적인 도시 치앙마이에 나와 있습니다. 제가 이곳에 온 이유는 바로 아주 귀중한 유산을 품은 건축물이 있기 때문인데요. 지금 바로 저와 함께 시간 여행을 떠나보실까요? 네, 저는 지금 오늘 만날 건축사분의 사무실 앞에 나와 있습니다. 이분들의 작업을 좀 전에 직접 방문해 보니 이따 어떤 말씀을 해주실지 정말 기대가 되는데요. 그럼 저와 함께 사무실로 들어가 보시겠습니다. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you.
I'm Seung-hoon from South Korea and I work in Jeju Island. Please introduce yourself briefly and explain how the name Pava came about.
I'm Pacharapan.
I am Bharat.
Yeah. So our name Pava Architects come from clearly is from our name Pava, but in Thai it is mean we want other call us Pava because it's a Thai word mean the state of being. Yeah, it's like we want to understand everything as it is and before we do anything or design, yeah, we want to understanding and we know that everything always change and we want to accept that, yeah, before the design.
Actually, our team was visited Chiang Mai to see the Khao Mai Museum and the whole master plan. And we were curious about how this project has been started and how it is progressing and what the long-term plan is.
I think since first time that we went there is so many years ago, and the project like continually changing over time. So the owner talks to us that we need a master plan. So like whatever happen in the future, it will follow this. Yeah. So we started the master plan since 7 to 8 years. Yeah, it's so long. And even before we study master degree. Yeah. So since then we start designing the museum and the master plan at the same time. It is like we went there many times to survey to understand things like what happened there, what is the core value of that project, and for sure you can see lots of trees and you will be surprised that about the fact it's just not so many years, right, Varat, for that tree to grow up. It's just 1 to 2 generations. Yeah, so you can see that big tree, and it's the core value of that project because not many bonds that have like lots of tree like that. So we decided to keep that core value, the coexistence between the big trees and the bonds together, and whatever come later, we want to respect that.
I think Gaoma is a very good project that represent the idea that we develop the brief with the client, and the master plan is like tools of that like the process of like develop the project together. Yeah, we don't want to do like top down things. We have to go to the site to feel, to understand, to record everything, and propose the programs to the client. Like he knows. I think many of our clients know that they have a good stuff. They have like potential projects, but they don't know how to do it. So they let us like come to do a research and like to understand, like talk with the local people, talk with the local artisan, like what they have. Maybe like they have timber. They are good at like the steel craftsmanship. So that a little puzzle together, combine together, and we propose the architecture program to fit that specificity of the context. Yes.
The conservation work in Khao Mai, the barn mostly done by the local artisan, which they work in that barn before when it was running. Yeah, so it's interesting. So we apply their skill to fit the project.
It's impossible for us to sit here and like thinking, oh, let's do that timber structure design for project, and at the end of the day, like local people cannot do that. You know what I mean, right? So we have to go and talk to them, and surprisingly, the steel structure is very affordable for the project, and they are good at that, making that structure. So let's do with this. We integrate with the conservation technique.
But I also interested in architectural typologies from different eras were placed in a narrative context. And were there any criteria specifically on architectural and led you to experiment the various buildings, some of which were renovated, some left as their origins, and some that rebuilt with extension, and some felt like ruins. And it was very interesting that you kind of placed in a narrative way. And so I'm curious about the intention of this entire process regarding architecture. And I'd like to talk about whether this methodology is related to Paba's attitude toward architecture.
Oh,
Very good
questions. As I mentioned about like understanding the site, when we found out that there are so many generations of the bonds there, right? You can see the rattle and daft technique, that like weaving bamboo together with a earth covering. It's interesting. It's the first generation for sure, and then the brick generation, right? And the last one, when they drying the bond there, is a concrete block. You can see. Actually, the originality of these kind of material and techniques is very simple. It's just because it's available there. It's about local availability. So like, okay, they can find the bamboo easily, and another time they can find the brick easily. And the technique that you can see is small one. And we cannot see this kind of thing nowadays anymore. So we decided to keep this thing and tell the truth of this story. We got very interesting fact from the local themselves. The past owner is like lots of people come to give us knowledge about this area. It seemed like it's like a beloved area, the beloved project for the community themselves since in the past, because like tobacco drying estate is like a community hub in itself, because when there is this thing, for sure there are like tobacco farm around, and they come to sell and buy tobacco leaf for their living, right? So they're gathering in this area since then, and when they know that this project like coming up, they come, even like the elderly, the senior people, and people who work there since then, they come and they enjoy, and the owner themselves, they want to hire the local people to work in this area. So it's nice in that way. That's the reason why we can get like valuable information. And then when we get this, we have a kind of methodology to preserve the typology of it, the 6 by 6 meter, the gable roof like that, and the in between building like that. It's like a repetitive system that we want to keep, so you can see the powerful space like that. And when we have to like insert the new thing, for sure we need to understand the visitor, right? Like how many people want to come and to protect the rain, protect the tropical climate. So you can see that when we need to add new thing, we add the shading first. Yeah. Why don't you want to add something?
Yeah, I think when we Pava like doing work, we dealing a lot with the existing conditions, and I think the first question that we ask is that how much should we design this project? Like how far we can go? Like it's not just like an empty land. A lot of like existing. Oh, we have this, that, this, those. Should we do this? Should we do that? How much? It's very gray area, right? It's not black and white. And I think the first thing that we often do is identify the value of the place. And it doesn't mean only like 6 by 6 meter, but it may be like that concrete block is so beautiful because like they can afford that at that time. I think that story, I think is very valuable as well. For us, we believe that conservation doesn't mean to freeze the building, right? Like, it's happened many times in Thailand. Like, they see the building as an object, and they want to preserve it 100%. And it's not fit to today's use anymore, right? People cannot go and use the ruins and some of the building that no air conditions. We feel like we cannot see the building as an object, but we see the building, the architecture related to life that come. I think we are very progressive in the way to do the conservative things.
So do you think that is related to the future of local? Actually, the future of local terms is our theme of the architecture forum in Jeju.
We think a lot about like locality, what they already have. We want to understand every site, every project that we do. I think we should pass on this kind of knowledge, this kind of wisdom to the next generation, to the future, for sure. It's like we try to follow whatever called development in each era, right? Yeah, and we define development thing differently. Sometimes we follow Western, sometimes we follow like colonization, sometimes we follow globalization, sometimes like we follow like the thing that pop up on marketing term. Yeah, but what for us is always like I mentioned to your team before about like vernacular architecture that we always like interested in, because it shows the real sense of the locality, because it's the vernacular architecture, it adapted of respecting, right?
Yeah.
The climate, the context there. It's so pure for us. So we learn a lot from it.
It's very pure. It's like a sense of survival, you know, like survival. Like local people, like without knowledge of design or architecture, they just like, oh, we have stone, we have timber, we live near the river, and the river like, keep changing all the time. Like it's raining, it flood, and they just, oh, we're gonna do with this stone and this timber with elevated platform, and we're gonna live with this river because like we want the fish in the river. That is very straightforward, very honest, very simple. That we feel like it's very beautiful. For us, the aesthetics of the vernacular architecture is not the proportion, but I think it's the process of understand everything surrounding and just design. And we want to see that in the future here in Thailand and around the world as well. I feel like somehow we design too much. Do you know what I mean? Like, we burn the cash, right? Big glass, big marble. To create some of the agenda or discord of architecture, I don't know, but somehow I personally feel like it's too much. I think we try too hard to design things.
I think in our field, architectural field, we know that like we burn, we use lots of resource, right, energy of the world, and I don't know, like we for us we need to think thoroughly about like what we want to do. Should we do it or not? Something like that.
네, 지금까지 파바 아키텍트 건축사 두 분을 만나봤습니다. 어제 방문했던 치앙마이 프로젝트의 그 영감을 직접 또 말씀을 나누면서 굉장히 이제 또 좋은 기운을 얻고 또 작업을 제주에서 더 할 수 있을 것 같습니다. 이게 또 나중에 어떻게 될지는 모르겠지만 좋은 인연이 돼서 그 제주에 와서도 또 저희가 이제 제주 분들하고도 같이 만날 수 있는 기회가 생길 수 있으면 좋을 것 같습니다. 감사합니다. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
저희와 함께 들여다본 태국판 로컬의 미래 어떠셨나요? 저는 몇 년 전 채퐁의 강의를 제주에서 들을 기회가 있었는데요. 이번 그 방콕을 방문해서 채퐁의 사무실도 방문하고 사이트도 방문하면서 실제 채퐁이 설명했던 것들이 어떻게 방콕에서 작동하고 주민들과 함께 연계되는지 볼 수 있는 귀중한 시간이었습니다. 현승훈 소장님은 어떠셨나요?
네, 저도 어제 치앙마이에서 파바의 작업을 직접 봤는데요. 그때 이제 많은 궁금증들이 있었는데 오늘 두 건축가를 만나서 얘기를 들으면서 궁금증을 해소할 수 있어서 좋은 시간이었습니다.
저희와 함께 했던 이 시간이 여러분들께도 많은 도움이 되시길 바라고요. 밝은 미래를 안고 제주에서 뵙도록 하겠습니다. 지금까지 건축가 이덕종,
건축가 현승훈이었습니다.
Hi, a little message to my friends and colleagues and students in Jeju. I just want to say how much I enjoyed being in Jeju and actually look forward to going back. Many people might think that Jeju is kind of out of the global environment and rural and natural, and it actually is out of the loop. But to me, being on the fringe is very important. Having kind of unique local conditions like the beautiful nature and beautiful vernacular architecture that you have is very hard to find in this current day and age. So I'm very proud of the things that I saw in Jeju, and I know that you create incredible architecture that's unique all throughout the world.
We talk a lot about locality. We talk a lot about the old thing. For me, local knowledge, locality, local architecture is so valuable for me. It's the thing that our past generation, many generations built it up, and for sure we can learn from it, and we need to pass on to our next generation. And I think this thing, if we don't preserve, if we don't like recognize its importance, it will fading away. It will be gone. So I think it's our duty as well that we want to keep it, to send it to the future.
Hi again. As I mentioned in the interview that we learned so much from the local architecture. So many good things about that, and I understand that many people don't understand the value and the meaning of the local architecture. I just want to tell you that be firm and just honest with your feeling, and try to share this thought to the other people. And I think if we all understand the value of the local architecture, I think we can use that local wisdom to make environment and the design like better than before.
제주국제건축포럼 후속 세미나 일환으로 해가지고 이번 태국 방문하게 되었는데, 같이 온 이제 제주 건축사님들과 여기 태국의 이제 유명한 건축가들과 이제 소통하는 거를 보니까 서로 이제 교감하고 느끼는 게 좀 많았던 것 같습니다. 그래서 보통 제주에는 타 지역에서 와서 활동하는 건축사나 건축가분들이 많으신데, 이렇게 제주국제건축포럼을 통해 가지고 앞으로도 이제 제주 건축가들이 국내를 넘어서 이제 해외에서도 활동할 수 있는 기회가 이제 매년 국제건축포럼을 통해서 그런 계기가 되었으면 좋겠습니다.
이번 제주국제포럼 프리뷰 행사는 제주 건축과 관계에 있는 건축사를 찾아가서 인터뷰하는 형식으로 진행되었습니다. 특히 건축사 채폰 같은 경우에는 자기가 설계한 건축물에 초대를 해서 저희에게 저녁 식사도 같이 하고, 그리고 그 건축물이 생겨나게 된 배경과 그리고 과정, 그리고 어떻게 지금 사용하는지에 대해서 직접적으로 설명을 듣게 되는 계기가 되었습니다. 이런 것은 저희가 지금 현재 방송 매체나 영상이 아주 발달하더라도 직접 가서 그리고 설계자에게 듣는 기회는 쉽지가 않습니다. 그래서 이런 기회는 이 건축사들에게 앞으로도 계속 지속됐으면 좋겠습니다. 그리고 이렇게 기회를 주신 제주특별자치도와 제주특별자치도 건축사회에 감사를 드립니다.